Which traditional Japanese instrument is the easiest to learn? Today I will be comparing 5 traditional Japanese instruments on ease of learning, affordability, and maintenance requirements. These 5 traditional Japanese instruments are Shinobue, koto, Shamisen, taiko, and shakuhachi, which I don't have. Let's begin! It's expensive. It shouldn't break. It broke. Your pitch will be all wonky. Easy tune within like an hour. That's why I didn't do it. This takes years. Konnichiwa, Saito Miki desu. I'm Miki Saito. So this is a shamisen, although this is broken and there are no strings. I thought about learning shamisen, and I talked to a shamisen player, and she told me that shamisen is actually really hard to make it sound okay. One of the reasons why is that because there are no frets. I know where to push because of the fret. Otherwise, if this is like flat, I have no clue where, to push. Although shamisen might look like a guitar, but there's no fret. So even if there are strings, 3 strings usually, I won't even know where. And if you don't know where to push the strings, your pitch will be all wonky. So it's gonna sound really bad. It's the same with the violin or cello, because they don't have frets. Beginning violin students sounding out of tune, and so it be kind of like that. So I would think the shamisen is hard to learn. That's why I didn't do it. I don't think koto is extremely hard for a beginner to make it sound presentable, because it just sounds beautiful even if you don't do much. It just like, I'm not doing much, but it sounds, wow, pretty. This is not as hard as shakuhachi probably, which is even hard to just create a sound, because if you touch it, sound comes out. Of course, it's not gonna be as beautiful as masters playing a koto, but some kind of sound will come out. You don't have to create the pitch. This movable bridge will decide the pitch for you, so that you already have the pitch. So you don't have to create pitches like you would have to with shamisen. In that sense, this instrument is not as hard to get into as a beginner. I would say once you set this up, you might be able to play easy tune within like an hour even. Just simple. So this is a taiko called katsugi oke taiko. And now, taiko seems pretty straightforward, but it's actually really hard because you have to know the rhythm. But the hardest part for us who doesn't live in Japan is to find the taiko group. Most taiko doesn't have the ability to play a melody. It's a percussive instrument, so I'm not a taiko player, but it's just a rhythm thing. So it is harder to make it entertaining solo by yourself. It is an ensemble instrument, so usually you don't really do solo unless you are super good, and then of course the beginners are not that good. So you want to find a taiko group and learn from them, learn with them, perform with them, practice with them. So that would be hard to do if you don't live in a big city. in that sense, I think taiko is a difficult instrument to learn. But if you do live in a city, I think it's a lot of fun to learn. I'd love to do it actually. Now, I don't have a shakuhachi, but I love the sound of shakuhachi. I think it's one of the coolest instruments in the world. And I wanted to learn it, but I decided not to because it seems very, very hard. The shakuhachi that I have seen, I know they have different sizes, are big. You know, I'm small. I'm female. My hands are not that big. And I cannot imagine blowing air into that big old thing and spread my fingers. And I did hear that making a sound, any decent sound out of that big old bamboo is not an easy task. It could take literally years. Shinobue is hard to actually create a sound initially because unlike harmonica or recorder, but if you just do it doesn't create a sound for you. You have to create the sound. And that takes a while to make it really nice sound. At first, you don't even know how to do low and high because you're not going to do it with the finger. You're going to do it with yourself, your mouth, your body, your breath. You could take months or years to make a nice kangon, the higher octave. To get to daikangon, it could take 5 to 10 years even, you know. So it is not something that you can just like pick up and play. However, this is easier than other Japanese instrument to play to make it sound nice for a beginner because you can just play simple song. It doesn't even have to have high notes and play it with karaoke. And it sounds really showy. You know, that's what the beginners need to make it sound showy in short time. With the karaoke, what I did was not that hard, but it sounds decent. It sounds presentable. That is so important for beginners. This is not the easiest instrument in the whole wide world, but relatively speaking, this is easier than a lot of instruments. Okay, so let's talk about the maintenance because even if you're learning well, if your instrument breaks, you cannot learn it anymore. You have to be super careful because you're not in Japan. That is a huge issue. I believe it's not impossible to get this fixed, although it is not an easy task because you have to probably ship it to Japan. I mean, this actually comes apart in 3 pieces, you know, like this. It comes apart and there's one more piece that comes apart, so it comes in 3 pieces and you can put it in a box. So it's not impossible to ship it, but some shamisen doesn't do this. You know, repairing is not cheap, shipping is not cheap, so it's still, I mean, you could do it, but it's not an easy task. So when I purchased this, I thought, it won't break. You know, it's expensive. It shouldn't break. It broke. The string. When I bought this, I did research. Like, what will I do? Because I didn't think it's gonna break that soon, but eventually it will break, so what can I do? I'm not gonna go back to Japan just to repair it. So I did some research and then, you know, it says you can repair it yourself. So I thought, well, okay, great. You know, I'm going to do it myself, and even if it kills me, I'm gonna do it. And I found out this takes years for a person to be able to put a string on this instrument. You have to be a professional koto repair artisans. Some people outside Japan can repair this, but it's gonna be like a band-aid situation. It's not gonna be as good as professional people doing it. So when it's not right, you cannot put these bridges in the right places, and because you have to push this to change, pitches. So if the bridge location is off because your string is not tight enough, then it's gonna mess up your playing. And literally what I had to do to actually get it repaired, I had to go back to Japan with this in my hand, in a box, and spend $200 one way to just put it in a cargo and pay for the repair, carry it around in Japan with this big old thing, and I had COVID, so I was dying. Of course, the airport, there are a bunch of people and stairs, and I mean, it was bad. And I got to the United States and opened it up thinking I don't have to worry about this repair for a while, and it was broke. I'm not just making this story up. I have to say, maintenance, it scored very low. So for taiko, this is not easy to repair either, but most of the taiko group has handy person who kind of knows how to repair these instruments. So you do have the power of group, provided that you are with the group. Most of the taiko players are with the group. For shakuhachi, this is what I heard from Daniel, who plays shakuhachi in Italy. Hi Daniel, thank you. It looks sturdy and big, but it's actually very delicate. He plays a Shinobue as well. Compared to Shinobue, it's a lot more delicate. The utakuchi, the hole that you put your mouth to, that is very delicate. You have to cover it. And some shakuhachi do come apart, but people don't want to do that because you could mess it up. Japan is very humid. So if you don't live in that kind of humid environment, it could easily crack. And it's expensive. So for Shinobue, it's probably the easiest because you don't really have to do a lot. Now, it could crack. Shinobue could crack too, especially if you're not in a humid country like Japan. But relatively speaking, compared to other instruments that I'm talking about today, it's affordable. I know it's still a lot of money for many people, but relatively speaking, this is very affordable. So basically, you have to just take care of it so that it doesn't crack, meaning if you're not using it, I would put it in a plastic bag to keep it from drying. And practice. If you practice it, your moisture will keep it alive. If you're not living in a humid country, get a Shinobue like this, or binded Shinobue or lacquered Shinobue. Is not gonna crack as much as a Shinobue like this, for example. This is transparent. You can see the Shinobue, the bamboo. These are easier to crack than these because this is covered with lacquer, so it's a lot more sturdy. Basically, you want to do your best so that it won't crack, but if it does crack, you get another one. I think you can get a student shamisen $500 maybe. Just like any other instrument, you can get inexpensive one, but still pretty expensive. And they do break. You do have to spend more than $1,000 to get a decent one. And if you really want to get a good shamisen, I'm sure it will cost thousands of dollars. This is actually expensive. As you can tell, this is a big instrument. And not only this is a large instrument and it will cost more than $1,000 a piece, you would have to buy accessories like these, what's called tsume. These are actually expensive because these are not just plastic. And then you have to buy a stand. This is just free thing. So you need to have a chair that's comfortable, that the height is correct. Then you have to buy the case. Then you have to buy the case for the stand. So just it goes on and on and on. For taiko, I mean, of course you can get expensive taiko, but you can get a lot out of taiko under $500. I don't think it's a horribly expensive instrument. For shakuhachi, there are used ones that you can get, but I feel like you're again looking at 500 to 1,000, I would say. I just know that it is expensive. If it's new, I would say probably more than $1,000. You can get a plastic Shinobue for, like $35, and which I do. And you can find a bamboo flute under $100, but you can really get a good Shinobue with like covered lacquer and things like that for about $350. Compared to other instruments, relatively speaking, it is affordable. I know I'm biased because I am a Shinobue player, but there's a reason why I'm a Shinobue player. It is easier to learn and maintain and purchase than other instruments. So if you're interested in Shinobue, please visit my website, saitomusic.com. You can get a lot more free information about Shinobue and purchase affordable Shinobue to start with. You can also take online lessons with me. Thank you so much for watching. どうもありがとうございます。じゃあね、またね。